Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with your boy Road Dogg here, and we've got King Karl in the house. Are you there, my friend?
Yo-ho-ho, Road Dogg, you handsome devil. How's it going over there, buddy?
It's going well. It's going quite well, actually. Lots and lots brewing. Just a matter of trying to prioritize what's truly A1 priority versus, not as high. So that's always the struggle for myself. But how about yourself?
Ready to rock, dude, as always. Depends on when they're listening to this, but Road Dogg and I are sitting here on a Monday ready to rock and roll, man. I got a to-do list that doesn't fit on I need about 7. I need a booklet as opposed to a to-do list on page, but I'm ready to rock and roll, dude. Hungry. And I'm going to enjoy the journey and not get frustrated if I don't make it to the destination. How's that sound? For a little bit of motivational talk.
It's not about the destination. It's about being able to enjoy the journey along the way. So speaking of journeys, let's dive right in. No one needs to hear our useless banter back and forth. They are here to do some learning. So first question that I've got here, and apparently, if you can believe it, you've actually inspired someone when it comes to financials, Karl. That's a true story.
Scares me. Uh-oh.
You've inspired me to dive further into financials so I can find my high-end coaching fees. What's the most important thing to do when getting started on my journey into numbers?
Cool. And again, I want to say high five, because very cool. I'd say this: it's easier than you think. Okay, but that being said, it's designed to be confusing for no other reason than they want it to be confusing, so they can keep stealing your money. So I think it's important to go at it with that approach. But if you go at it that they're trying to confuse you, it'll be a little bit easier, to get through the ridiculousness of, the way financials work and accounting and the words and the multiple different words for the, what could be very, very simple is very, very complicated. But anyway, so really, look, there's 3 documents you need to understand. A high-level accountant can provide, frankly, hundreds of documents, and there's hundreds of documents in roundabout ways that, I don't know if they're necessary, but, companies like Walmart and whatnot, I mean, this is what they're looking at, and they've all got their place. But really, there's 3 you need to understand: balance sheet, income statement, cash flow statement. The most important of which is the income statement by a fair margin, and really understanding profit and the reason, understanding, profit margins. That's where you're going to find them. That's why it's so important. But so you're going to get into, here's maybe, I'm going to answer this differently, but I think this is going to be very, very powerful. You got to train your mind to think in percentages. That's one of the takeaways that I have over my journey and really, delving very, very, very deep into accounting and financial statements and small business finance, is that you got to train your mind to think in percentages. So an example, in fact, I was at a internet marketing seminar, heavyweights, like a lot of the guys we would have heard of, 9-figure guys, driving a lot of traffic. So here's an example that I gave these guys, is that, okay, so you get a 2% conversion on your landing page, right? It's good, bad, indifferent, doesn't matter. We're going to work together. Road Dogg, you and I are going to go on it, man. We're going to change the headline. We're going to change the font of the copy, pull out some complicated words and replace them with simple words, which is important when you're writing copy. You don't want to sound intelligent. That's not a goal of your copy ever. And then we're going to, take the opt-in box and we're going to put red, copy doodle type arrows to it, right? So we're going to increase the conversion from 2% to 3%, right? Not very exciting. And to the naked eye, 2 to 3 is 1, so that's a 1% improvement. But the reality is that that's not a 1% improvement. When you go from 2% to 3%, that's a 50% improvement. So if they were making, again, hypothetically, $100,000 from that landing page, and we took and, we made that adjustment, took them to 3%, they're now making 150 grand. Or, you've got a business that's got 30% margins, and then we increase it to 33%. Is that a 3% improvement? No, it's a 10% improvement. The mind won't get, like 90% of the folks listening, that's new. Okay. That's not the way they're thinking. So I think that's powerful. That is what I'd be encouraging. So when you're working with your clients and those listening, Profit Acceleration Software, the 2.0 version, it's all designed with percentages. So when you go in there and I answer that question with insane regularity, like percentages versus numbers, it's like percentages. It's designed that way as part training technique, and just frankly, it's damn important, right? So I think that's super powerful. Probably answered a little differently than somebody was expecting, but I'd be training everybody to be thinking along those lines. Another thing, very, very important, put stars around it, exclamation marks all over the place. Profit is a theory, okay? So I look at an income statement, and you're going to go, you start up at revenues, and then you move down towards expenses, et cetera. In the bottom right-hand corner, there's a number that we circle. We either get excited about it or disappointed over it, and it says profit. Okay, but profit is a theory. So often you'll hear businesses say, like, I'm profitable, but where the hell is all my money? Like, why don't I have money to pay my suppliers, to pay myself, to pay my having to juggle funds to pay all my staff? Profit's a theory. An example, actually, I was mentor a young guy a little bit behind the scenes just to kind of help him out. This guy's going to be a world beater, kind of already is, but he's going to be a heavy into real estate and a few other bits and bits. 25-year-old kid, and he has so he's had this new undertaking in real simple numbers. He brought in about $100,000 with this particular program, right? And now I said, okay, so that's great. He brought in $100,000. Here's my next question. How much cash, how much money is in your bank account? And he goes, again, sake of the numbers, 30 grand. I go, okay. It was a little bit different than that, but just want to keep the numbers round. Well, I said, how are we realizing the $70,000, right? And the reality is he didn't have a great answer for me. Absolutely bloody critical. I said, stop everything, and you've got this. You have a $70,000 program. Okay, again, your financials are going to say that you've got $100,000, but I'm going to tell you that, and this is where you go to a cash flow statement, right? So that's why it's really important. In theory, though, what I want to impress upon you here, somebody new getting to financials and trying to work all this stuff out, is just that profit is theory, cash is fact. So he has a $100,000 theory, and he has $30,000 of facts. So don't buy, my advice to him, don't buy Facebook ads, don't buy Instagram ads, don't drive a bunch more traffic. Go and sort out this $70,000 program right here, right now. And another question I asked him is how aged? Look, if this $70,000 was only 2 days old, 5 days old, 2 weeks old, that's not a huge problem. If it's moving towards 90 days, there's a good chance that 70 grand's not being realized. And once again, unfortunately, your theory is now, an unfortunate one where the fact versus the theory is going to, there's going to be a gap there that you don't want. So anyway, so I would say that profit is theory, cash is fact. So moral of the story, you're working with a business owner and they have like an account. So it's really an accounts receivable problem I just described. Again, driving, does he really want to go make, because he has to deliver on the $100,000. Make no mistake about it. They're not just giving him money, right? Kid's working. He's working hard. So does he really want to go make another $100,000 of sales before he's confident that he's going to get the other 70 grand, right? And because he might, let's just assume he is going to get percentage of that 70. I bet my life that it's not all coming in, right? So on the next 100,000, let's assume that he's going to get, again, let's just go half of it. Well, let's find a way to put systems and processes in place where he's going to get 70% of it. and then moving towards bloody 100%, because we don't want to be, there's no point going to make a bunch of sales and fulfilling on stuff where you're not going to get paid. This doesn't make a lot of sense. But what happens? People don't recognize the $70,000 problem. They get excited and start jumping up and down because it looks like $100,000, like, holy smokes, I'm killing it, I'm doing great, which they are, okay, but they need to understand finances to understand, well, where the heck is all the money and is it going to be realized? So before he goes and like runs Facebook ads or Instagram ads or generates a bunch of new leads, he's got to make sure that he's going to be able to realize this stuff. It's a very different way of thinking. And my opinion is the way that you get there is just understanding that the profit is theory, cash is fact. So we could delve a lot deeper, Road Dog, but I think that should give it in. Just training your mind and your client's mind to think in percentages, profound in my opinion. And I think 5%, 10% of the business population max do that naturally. Most of us, this is something that we have to train ourselves and learn to move towards. So that's the answer I would give you, brother. What do you think?
Well, it's interesting because I'm going to bleed into the next question here a little bit and I want to elaborate on it. Again, it's the question of, well, what's the difference between a coach and a consultant? And we get this all the time, right? Because let's say you're diving into the numbers and you see, again, you're trying to find your high-end coaching fees inside of that. And then it's like where's that line between coach and consultant in terms of actually helping them do the actual work? Like, do you have any tips on that? Like, and how do you define the difference between a coach and a consultant?
Yes, I have. Okay, first of all, I don't know that I'm the best guy to say, okay, so you're asking, okay, what's the difference between a coach and a consultant, right? So The way I would answer it, and frankly, I think there's people out there that are a lot better at, really qualifying this than I, but I do have my reasonably strong opinions on it. Give you that in a second. So a coach asks you questions and you draw the conclusions. A consultant comes in and helps you direct traffic, right? Like, Road Dog, do this, do that, versus a coach, I'm going to come in and ask you questions and have you realize where you actually want to go, and then I'm guiding you, right? My opinion is, though, and again, just go to sport, right? Basketball, soccer, hockey, baseball, cricket, whatever, right? Your coach, if they're not telling you what to do, they got to help you build the strategy. You know what I mean? You can't just, pull it with, you know what I mean? Like, pull it, oh, wow, it's going to really inspire you to be this great baseball player. It's not quite how it goes down. So really, you need to have a hybrid of coach and consultant in order to be successful in this day and age. If you're just going to be a traditional coach and you're just going to draw it, like, what do they say? My client already knows what they need to know. I just need to draw it out of them, right? So the level of stupidity, I believe that is, it's incomprehensible, right? Give me a break. I got a better saying, you motivate an idiot, they do stupid things quicker, right? That would be a lot closer to the reality. So a hybrid, but that's not to say that they don't, right? You need to pull this stuff from within them. And sometimes they get a little bit surprised when they realize that, oh, I'm not as motivated as I thought. Or, I thought that I wanted to build this multiple 7-figure business. And now that I realize how much work is involved and the time that I'm going to spend in my office and away from my family and my young kids, maybe this isn't the right direction from me. And maybe my coach is right in that I might end up sabotaging this success, because once I actually get there, I'm going to be highly unfulfilled because of all the baseball games and the gymnastics and everything that I'm missing with my girls or my boys, right? But if you want it here's a tattoo for your forearm as a coach, consultant, that I believe to be super duper powerful. Let's go mentor. Forget coach, consultant. Here, and a mentor to me is somebody who can tell you what not to do. So there it is. If you're going to follow somebody, everybody's got advice. Everybody, oh, do this, do that. Oh my gosh, have you thought of that? Look, tell me what not to do, right? That is where I think the power lies. And if I'm, again, sitting down with you and I'm discerning whether or not you're the right person to guide me, again, I'm going to ask you some questions to be able to understand, is this a person who's going to be able to tell me, when to pump the brake, when to pump, if you read my emails, when to punt on fourth, right? 4th and 1, which is almost every time, right? Remember, there's no shortage of opportunities to make money. There's an infinite number of opportunities to lose it all in one shot. Think about that, right? Very powerful. So that's what I'd say, man. I'd say that difference between a coach and a consultant, I would say that just difference between a good one and a bad one is one that can tell you what not to do. I think that's insanely powerful. So there you go, bud.
Okay, so just to freestyle here for a second, because it's interesting on the what not to do. I want to go down a path just for a quick second here, because I had a coach ask me an interesting question the other day, because he's running into a lot of startups, right? Because startups are looking for the basically what not to do, but also just please tell me what I need to do. And the problem is when he's running into these startups, they can't afford to pay him. Do you have any advice for a coach that's trying to get in front of the right people? Like, how do you identify basically it's a business that's making at least $100K, like somebody that can actually afford to pay you? Like,
yep, guys,
you know where
I can tell by the size of their ad. See, when they buy the ad, I know if it's a $5,000 ad, a $2,000 ad, if it's a free line ad in the classifieds, that's going to tell you something, right? So that's one way. Like that. Look, I would say that, but so networking. It just comes back to, we're talking lead generation, right? Instead of going to BNI, go join. Like, you guys know, like in your city, there's what's called the Old Boys Club, and it's hard to get in. End of story. You got to find a way to go and get in, and you've got to accept that you're not just going to be accepted immediately in a roundabout way. So you got to, like Road Dog, where we live, there's the yacht club down the road. The guys who were hobnobbing around at the yacht club have a few bucks. Why? Because it's very expensive to be a member of the yacht club. And normally when you're a member of the yacht club, guess what you own? A really big boat. That's how you get in there, right? So that, you just strategically got to think about where are you looking, but go join, but you go to BNI and the memberships are, basically hundreds. And then you go to the yacht club and, it's 5 figures to get a membership. This is different. And there is that club, and it takes time to get in. You don't just automatically get accepted. That's just the way the old boy, and it works. It's the same in sports and elsewhere. So that's what I'd say, man. But a great one for those listening who are going, yeah, but I need clients now. I got to rock and roll. Advertising. Like if they're advertising on the radio, again, it's more expensive than the newspaper on average. These guys are spending some dough. This is who you got to get connected with. So there you go.
I couldn't agree with you more, and that's exactly what I told him, because we do partially share a brain, I think. But it's funny because, and I can speak, if anybody has any questions about radio and how ridiculously expensive it is, call them. Like I used to do it back in the day. What an absolute joke. You get the most unqualified prospects out of the whole deal. They lock you into these big contracts. And the only other thing, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Karl, again, your angle, because it's all about getting past the gatekeeper, right? And then having that initial conversation. And a part of it is, it's like, look, if you see an ad, and we all know, anyone listening to this knows, 99% of all ads are horrible, like absolute trash. So it's not exactly going to be hard for you to know that they're in probably some sort of commitment with the newspaper or the radio station or a TV, TV even more expensive. And let's just help them actually change their ad, like go ad without expectation. And I think that's another piece of it. But anyways, that's any thoughts on that? Am I kind of hitting the nail?
Yes. And I love it, by the way. Here's that you got to become the best, right? That's it. Like the guys at the yacht club, part of getting into that club is you got to come in and show, expertise. Like I'll give you an example. I was hobnobbing recently with some heavyweight internet marketers, right? Well, I'm in there. I start talking about, balance sheets and income statements and some of the magic and percentages, like the example I gave earlier between 2 and 3% being a 50% increase. I mean, like there was like I could literally hear it in the room, like people going, oh, you know what I mean? Like literally hear it. This is how you get their attention. But and by the way, I'll let you guys decide that are listening whether or not that's incredible advice or horrible advice. I'm happy with either, but I got to tell you, a room full of very heavyweight internet marketers thought it was unbelievable advice, right? So become the best, right? The late, great Kobe Bryant, how he trained his back. He was the best. Like, I don't know, like at one stage, he was the best in the world at basketball for a decent period of time, right? Well, he didn't stop going to the gym at 5 a.m. My boy Tom Brady, Road Dog, I'm going there, right? Again, he's got what does he have, 5 or 6? He's got 5 rings, right? So his 6, like he's working on getting his 6th ring right now. Maybe he'll come back, maybe he won't. But at the end of the day, the boy is fired right up. Look, again, Tom Brady, hard to say that he's not the best quarterback of all time. He's not practicing to practice right now. As we're listening, he is practicing to improve, not practicing to practice, right? So when you read a book, do you have a pen with you or your phone to chuck some notes in, right? When you're flipping through Facebook, are you looking at photos of other people's kids, which, by the way, is totally fine, but I think it should be, set a time. Like when I flip through Facebook, I'm looking to learn something. And by the way, when I learn something, I immediately write it down. And then I'll give I won't just write it down, but I go to like a metaphor. I go to a story from my past. Remember when you work with XYZ and pretty much exactly that happened? Boom, right? So practice to improve, like become the best. That's it, right? Like, and you're not there. So then now somebody's listening, Road Dog, right? And they're like, okay, Road Dog, Karl, you guys have done this for years. It's easy for you, but I'm only getting going. Well, guess what? This is a journey, right? Like, Road Dog, somebody will tell me they suck at sales. You've heard me say this, I don't know if it's 1,000 times, but it's bloody close by now. You suck at sales, and you tell me you suck at sales, and you agree that it's critical for your success and it's holding you back. And I just say, how many books on sales have you read in the last 30 days? What's the answer? None. And they're highly analytical, and their time management would leave me for dead. And they read a book on time management, though, right? Like, hey, sales, that's not the challenge right now, right? Go to sales. So anyways, practice to improve and just accept that you've got to become the best. And the way you become the best, it is a journey, right? Well, I'm a couple decades into this now. I would hope that if I'm not good at it by now, I'm never going to be any bloody good. But once again, I'm practicing to improve. I tell you, last night I was flying home and I'm sitting on the plane, can't sleep, and I'm flipping through and I'm taking notes in my phone for calls like this and emails that I'm going to send out and solution I can provide coaches. So, and that's not patting myself on the back. That's just my process. What is yours? And your plan has to become the best. That's how all of this becomes easy. That's how you get more clients than you can shake a stick at. That's when you hear, I just got a Facebook message from one of our coaches, just sent me a message. He said, I just had my first $40,000 month. And I'm like, high five. But my question for him is, high five. What a lot of people do is now they get, if that's more than he expected, right? And the way that the email or the message came through might have been worded that way. So I immediately went, where are we going? Are we going to 50? If so, what date? Or are we concentrating on locking in on 40 and making sure that doesn't deplete in any way, shape, or form? And, basically the answer came back. The bottom line is that's what we need to know, right? But that does happen sometimes when you accomplish your goals and suddenly you're high-fiving yourself. It's, be careful to become stagnant because you got to practice to improve. So that's how I'd answer that, my brother. How's that?
So you talked about being on this around all these internet guys. Any tips there? Because there's a question that came in that says, I want to start advertising online for coaching clients. Yep. Where is it the best? Facebook, Insta, like LinkedIn?
I tell you, so I'm there, and again, there's some heavyweights in this room. And I say heavyweights, I mean like heavyweights, right? And somebody came up there and they said, hey, where's Karl? And I was hiding in the back, trying to be inconspicuous, got pulled up. So it was a coach and they were looking for an answer. And it basically looked like this. She, she wants to grow her coaching practice and she was getting some advice. And it's like, okay, advertise Facebook. Here's how you do it. advertise on Instagram. Here's how you do it. You should get a podcast. Here's how you do it. And I go up there. I go, look, how many coaching clients do you got? She goes, 2. I go, how much you charging? $500. I said, so you're at $1,000 a month of revenue. She's like, yes. I said, is that enough? Like, are we in trouble and we need sales immediately? Or do you got, a big slush fund and you're just kind of, just having some fun and, happy to take your time to get there? I need dough. I got to make this happen, right? This is one of the students. Like, there's the heavyweights and then there's lots of, folks there to learn, to do. You can imagine the environment. I just said simply, look, here's the scoop. First of all, and then I asked, how many coaching clients can you handle? And again, she didn't know, because like strategically, and this is insanely common, people don't think these kinds of things. They don't think 3 steps ahead. They just think of the next 15 minutes, right? And I'm like, look, here's the scoop. 20 coaching clients will be pretty much max, should be bursting at the seams. More realistically, you have 10 high-end coaching clients. And again, let's say they charge you $2,000 a month, right? That's $20,000 a month. That's $240,000 a year. You'll have attrition. It'll go up and down, etc. But I just said, look, here's the scoop. You've got 2. You can only take on 10. I said, answer me this question. Should you advertise on Facebook? Should you advertise on Instagram? Should you advertise on LinkedIn to go get 8 clients in total, right? If you needed 80, you wanted 800. If you wanted 8,000, be very different. Why would you go to Facebook and advertise to get 8 coaching clients? I just said, look, here's a scoop. You got to work out exactly who your target market is. And it is a journey. It is not just make a decision and you got it forever. And I just held up my hand and said, here's a mirror. Look at it. There's your target market, because that's normally the way it works, right? And then it went on. And I just said, look, here's what I would do here. And by the way, she's only just getting started. The other thing I said to her is, you don't even know if you're really going to enjoy this. Like, believe me, it's not unheard of somebody to think that coaching is going to be amazing, get going, and then get left a little bit disappointed. Like, you know what? This is harder work than I thought. And I'm not as passionate about this as I thought, but I might go here, like a slight left turn. So I said, you don't even know, right? And designing a Facebook ad or an Instagram ad, this is not for the faint-hearted, right? Like, believe me, it's not like just, they put it out there like as though it's free money just to ad on Facebook. Absolutely not. There's, you need to get everything in place, and you need to go spend some dough in order to make this work. So I just said to her this. I said, go find, again, look at the mirror, go find 10 clients, make an agreement that you were going to go, 100 miles an hour, really, really help them. But the deal is, so Road Dog, it's you and me, right? Like, we're basically looking into a mirror at one another. So I just go, Road Dog, here's a scoop, man. I'm going to coach you. You're trying to get this business up and running. I can change, man, the things that I can show you what not to do in the direction I can provide, not to mention the accountability, which will be more important than all the rest. I'm going to help you get this business cranking, man. So right now, say you're making $100,000 of profit a year. We're going to get this to 125 as our first milestone, and then we'll go from there. But Road Dog, I want a deal. And that's going to be pro rata. So nuts and bolts, man, once we get there, and we expect to get there in about 90 days, if I get you there, I want the agreement that you will send me a referral, and that referral will be a high-end coaching clients that will agree to my $2,000 a month coaching clients. And if they don't say yes, then you'll send me another one until I get one. Do we have an agreement? Just do that 8 times and over-deliver, and don't wait 90 days. Get it done in 30 days where they're like, my gosh, I can't believe the effort that Karl's putting in. And yeah, I'm going to refer, because business owners hang out with other business owners. Like, no expenses. If you understand, we talked about financials earlier. Expenses are just eating away at their profit and their cash flow unnecessarily. That would be the Facebook ad, the Instagram ad, the LinkedIn ad, totally unnecessary. No expenses whatsoever. Just do it that way. And while you're doing it, instead of running ads and not learning how to coach, you'd actually be going and coaching to learn how to coach. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way you become a master, right? That's the way you achieve mastery, is by doing, not by reading the books. So answer to your question, Road Dog. Ads, look, yes, again, we have to, where are you at? Where do you want to go? Those 2 questions. But for the average coach, you don't want to be advertising on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, etc. So, and actually, I'll finish with this. So then it's like, what do we do? How do we use the internet? And I'd go to Gary V's $1.80 strategy, where he says you put your 2 cents in 90 times a day. So you just go to different conversations on the internet and put your 2 cents in, and that will get you a little bit of attention. So that's it. But that is what I mean, look, I took away so much. I mean, these are some, heavyweights. It's like finances, again, it's just not that bloody hard at the end of the day, but it takes discipline. It takes consistency, it takes some guts, right? You got to be willing to go and put some money at risk in order to get returns, but that's not to say stupidly putting money at risk, right? It needs to be calculated. And that's simply just on a daily basis. You're just measuring it. But yeah, that's it, man. Remember, just a mentor can tell you what not to do. I think that's almost come back to that, bud.
Cool, man. Yeah, it makes sense. Again, when I talk to people too, it's always they invest if they're going to do ads, they invest very little. They're too broad in terms of who they're talking to, and they're expecting miracles. Which is always blows my mind. But you talked about accountability and just getting people to actually do stuff. So I've got a question here, and then it's funny, hey? Like, it's funny how we get a lot of almost the same types of questions, but hey, here it is. So I've got a successful multi-million-dollar client that keeps getting in his own way. I almost feel like an intervention is necessary over coaching. I can hear that. Ever had a situation like that? He tells me how bad he wants it, but I feel like I want it more than he does.
He does. Oh my God. What the ending is? What I feel like I want it more than he does.
I want it more than he does. Yeah, it's like I always say to people, look, if I want this more than you do, we got a real serious problem here. But yeah, so I feel this guy's pain. Any thoughts there?
Yes, and by the way, I heard it. I love it, and I like it even more because they mentioned, like, I got to step in and do an intervention. It's almost what's required, right? Tony Robbins style. In fact, here, well, look, let me give you. So yeah, I think like almost like an intervention is what's required here, because again, you're right. They got shiny light syndrome on friggin' steroids. Okay, let's go back to this. So hobnobbing with a bunch of internet marketers, right? And I had this conversation. So these guys leave me for absolute dead driving traffic on the internet. Like, these are the heavyweights of the heavyweights, right? I mean, I'm not even in the same ballpark. You know what I mean? Just, I'm a joker compared to what these guys are doing. So I'm not going to get asked any questions around that. But where I do tend to get asked questions and brought into conversations, ask, look, could we, because a lot of the time it's some private VIP kind of meetings where, again, it's like a little bit of an old boys club, right? So where I come in is when they're talking business model, talking, kind of strategy. Like, here's what we're doing. Conversation that I had multiple times looked like this. Got this business going. It's about 5 years old, crushing it. And I just found that it's just not, we're now declining, and competition is coming thick and fast. I'm not sure. And then somewhere in amongst the conversation, they refer to the original business, and now all of a sudden clearly they've got a new business venture going, which is not to say that it's not unheard of. It's insanely common, right? So then I'm like, hey, whoa, let's go back. What happened? And of course, it's always somewhat the same. Sent out an email about this not too long ago, and it looked something like, what happened was 2 years ago, 18 months ago, an opportunity got dropped on my lap that it was just like amazing, too good to be true. One of those offers you just couldn't say no to. We went, say the potential, man, this thing is going to go to the moon. I really think it's going to revolutionize things. But we've got it going. There's been a few more headaches than anticipated, hit a few bumps, not, as amazing as what we thought it would be at this 18-month stage, but at the same time, it's growing. I really believe in it, and we're going to crush it. And I'm just like, here's the problem, right? This is what they don't know. The second, and by the way, this is advice straight from my dad's lips, the second business eats the first, right? And Also, another thing that you will find is whenever this is happening, the words that they'll use is there's never been, like, competition is coming thick and fast. The reason the competition is coming is because they took their eye off the prize. They're no longer in there on a daily basis, which means they're normally, the brains, the creative mind behind it. They stopped innovating. And then you stop innovating. Well, that's why you're experiencing competition, because they've caught up to you, right? The way that if your client or you are feeling like there's a lot of competition, that means you haven't innovated. You shouldn't have any competition, right? Like with what we do, no one in the world has profit acceleration software. Like, we created it from a piece of paper and a pen on a napkin, right? So nobody has that. We've got live event mastery. We filled over 400 local live events, got an entire turnkey process to do so. Anybody listening wants to do live events, you should crawl over broken glass, in my opinion, to get at our live event mastery program. But no one else in the world has that program, right? And then I could go on and on and on with all the different tools and whatnot that we have, but no one else has got it. We got a magazine, right? The Six-Figure Coach. I get asked this all the time. Why is it I get asked this around the internet marketers too. Why is it the Six-Figure Coach instead of the Seven-Figure Coach, right? And it's real simple, because most business coaches don't. A few unicorns hit 7 figures, but we're not. You know what I mean? Like, coaches make 6 figures. Like this. So this is the conversation in their head. I call it the 7-figure coach. Sure, I would. The heavyweights would be all over it. But the newbies and whatnot, 7 figures is beyond, especially once they get going and they see how difficult it is to even get to $250,000, right? But I got one client, I call him Mr. X. He does $5.5 million a year. And then I got other folks, that are, battling just to get to 50. And it's frankly the same industry that is just so ridiculously common. But I will tell you that if competition is the issue, it's because you're not innovating. You just think about it this way. Your clients and you should not have competition and through innovation. So that's how I'd answer that. But I also, I think you mentioned intervention, right? And that's, again, and by the way, and I mentioned, these, pretty heavyweight internet marketers that are talking about their original business not going quite as well, and then a second business. Look, at times there's 3, 4, 5 of the buggers, right? You guys, you think you have shiny light syndrome because you bought too many, you bought the time management program, and then you bought the social media program, and then you bought the whatever other program, and you're kind of frustrated with yourself. You keep getting these shiny objects. Well, these guys got gobs of money. They're buying businesses the way that you're buying programs. And I'll give you an idea. Do you think running a business might have a few more complications than trying to get through 19 videos for the new program? These are real problems. These are human beings with, 24 hours a day and blood and oxygen, plus families that they'd like to get, spend a little more time with. So intervention, which was used in the wording of the question, sounds perfect. And I'll tell you, here's a 5-step strategy. Again, it's Tony Robbins's, not mine, but frankly, Tony's the best at this stuff, so just go with his. But if you are going to do an intervention, here's the way you do it. You watch 50 videos by Tony Robbins, and I have most certainly done that when he's doing the interventions. Here's a 5-step methodology. Step number 1 is state. You've got to get a bit of a feeling for where somebody's at, right? So I just got home from, being away. My state when I walk into the office could be anxiety, like, oh my gosh, like, my emails have piled up and the workload have piled up and the calendar is full, etc. Like, what's my state? Or my state could be excitement, what I just learned over the last week and the new relationships that I've got and the people that I can follow up and the people that I've now got in my network are just unbelievable. I could get excited about that, right? Or I could get anxious about the emails. The question is which one, right? What is the state? Which brings you straight into number 2, where what are you focusing on, right? Again, I just gave you 2 different options that my state would be highly dictated with which I was focusing on. So what are they focusing on? Focusing on the opportunities. Really importantly in our game, are you focusing on the clients, the coaching clients' lives you're going to change? Are you focusing on the fact that you hate cold calling and you hate picking up the phone and you suck at sales and you suck at getting new clients and it's really, really frustrating, Which one? Or are you focusing on what an opportunity, what I learned over the weekend when I listened to those videos? I can't wait to share this with a local business owner, whether they pay me or not. I can't wait to share this with someone and change some lives, right? And remember, when I say whether they pay or not, no way, shape, or form am I telling anybody out there that they should be running around and doing all this stuff for free. But I'll just tell you, Tom Brady, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, they threw the ball and shot hoops, and Wayne Gretzky, shot pucks and stick handles around the ice rink for free for a very, very long time before he hit it, right? So don't be, going to do a little bit of work and really learning your craft and accumulating goodwill and getting some referrals and whatnot is not such a bad idea. But at the end of the day, you do need to monetize this thing, and you need to make some dough. So you got to make that transition to charging very, very quickly, like as in 3 hours after the free coaching call, right? Like turn it around quick. But at the end of the day, though, focus on the fact that you're going to go out there and make a massive impact. Number 3 of Tony Robbins' 5-step process for intervention is meaning. What's the meaning that you're going to associate with it, right? Like, again, if you're focusing on you're pooping your pants looking at the phone, thinking you've got to phone these guys and follow up, is the meaning I'm an idiot, I'm so dumb. In fact, let me give you Tony Robbins' version of it, and then you can grab it and kind of work out where it would fit with you personally and then with your clients. So if you listen to Tony talk, you'll always hear him tell the story of Thanksgiving, where somebody knocked on the door and they were providing, this big turkey and a bunch of food, right? So Tony Robbins' dad, so there's a knock on the door. Tony answers. He calls his dad, says, "Hey, oh, come, wow, look at all this." His dad focused on, this is free food. What's the meaning? I'm a loser. And then what did he do? He left, and Tony Robbins, which we never saw the guy again, right? Tony Robbins, young kid, he focused on, wow, there's food. What's the meaning? Strangers care. What am I going to do? He's going to go and live a life of service and do what he has done. But you see the meaning? His dad goes, this is free food. The meaning is I'm a loser, whereas he could have looked at this as free food. What a gift for my family for Thanksgiving. How much easier of an adjustment would that have been, right? And it's just the meaning that you attach to everything. It's going to frankly, go back to number 1, it dramatically adjust your state, right? But you start with state, because if you're in an empowering state, you're going to find all of this stuff becomes easier. And if you're a disempowering state, the other 4 steps are significantly harder. But remember, we practice to improve. Don't expect to get this just in one. Okay, so let me just, number 1 is state. Number 2 is focus. Number 3 is meaning. Number 4, super powerful, is relationships, right? So it's like relationship with your clients, relationships with your family, most importantly, a relationship with yourself. What sort of relationships, what kind of relationships, when you're calling somebody, again, just think you're literally going to cold call as a business coach, get somebody on the phone. What's that relationship? How are you feeling about it? Like, are you going at this like, here, this is the luckiest guy or gal in the entire city because I'm about to change their life with what I say and what I'm going to do? Or is this a relationship where this is another person? I don't want to say my name too clearly because I don't want them to hear it and then go, this is some, lightweight trying to sell me something. They're going to hang up the phone and then, think that I'm an idiot and tell their 2 best friends type of thing, right? Like, what are the relationships that you're out there forming? In fact, I just read a book, Principles, by Ray Dalio, which I cannot recommend highly enough. Ray Dalio, owns the largest hedge fund in the world. His personal net worth, I don't know what it is, but it's personally, it's not him and his company. It's $100 billion. He's worth $100 billion plus. Incredibly intelligent guy. So what I read from him, and I'm zipping. So basically, he's saying that what you've got to do is accept that there are going to be trials and tribulations in anything you do. Conversation over, right? They're going to be good, bad, and indifferent experiences with everything you do. But what you're going to find is that the entire way through, you're going to have relationships with other people and, of course, with yourself. He said one of the foundational principles for him was to accept that these things are happening anyways, and the paradigm shift is to enjoy the relationships along the journey, right? So so instead of, okay, how's that different than what you've heard 10,000 times, in my opinion, is that everybody tells you to enjoy the journey, right? Don't worry about the destination, just enjoy the journey. Well, he says, enjoy the relationships along the way of the journey. That was very small distinction, but for me, it was rather profound. I was like, wow, that's and so true, right? And again, with yourself. And again, big part of principles. And again, I highly recommend everybody read it. It's a monster book, 400 pages. He's actually got a condensed version of it, which might be a better idea that you could read in literally 15 minutes. That might be a better place for you to start before you go and commit to, whatever that takes you, but a couple of weeks of reading, a 400-page monster. So the relationships, where was I going with that? The bottom line, can't remember, but relationships, you're going to have trials and tribulations anyways, right? So when you have like Road Dog, you and I'm coaching you, you're coaching me. It's not all going to be wonderful. Well, at the point of that, it's not so wonderful. Like you're thinking about canceling, I'm thinking about canceling, or, my credit card's bouncing and we had to have this conversation. Just enjoy what I could do is, like, Road Dog, you're speaking to me and you're trying to convince me to stay for another month. You could enjoy the process of trying to convince me to stay for another month, realizing that I may stay and I may go, but you're about to learn something, and that you value our relationship so that you are going to handle it in such a way that either is going to be okay. You know what I mean? So the number 4 is relationship with yourself and relationship with others. Learn to not just enjoy the journey, but enjoy the relationships that you build and form throughout the journey. I found that to be profound, straight from Ray Dalio, but happens to be in Tony Robbins's relationship, where Tony Robbins, where you'll see him go, he'll say this all the time. So tell me, whose love did you crave more, your mom's or your dad's? And then with your answer, he goes in an entirely different direction, right? Hopefully you guys just understand the reasoning behind that. No, I'm not going to go through it too in detail right now, but like, that is a huge part. He can, because when you're a girl and you crave your father's love and attention more than you do your mom's, do you think this might, your roadmap for your life and the picture that you picture for yourself at the end, like the destination, do you think that might be dramatically altered versus if you craved the love of your mother more, right? Absolutely. So that's why he goes there. Number 4, relationships, need to understand those. And then number 5, where everybody would normally and instinctively put this at number 1, by the way. Okay, I'll give an example of that in a second. But number 5 is strategy. Okay, it's number 5, and it's last for a reason, but it's also the most important. So the way that I would describe it, let's say that all of this equals like 1 to 5 equals 100%. I would take strategy and put it as 1% of the 100, right? So the other 4 comprise of 99%, which on the surface would be like way more important. The problem, the challenge, the reality is the 1%, the strategy, drives the other 99. So it's only small, but it's absolutely monstrous in importance. Okay, let me give you an example. Somebody wants to lose weight. Okay, what do? They go by Jenny Craig. They surf the internet. They try keto. What they do is they adopt a strategy, right? Well, this again, guys, you guys probably, if you listen to a podcast for any period of time, you would have heard this one from me at some stage. But like, if you want to lose weight, it's like $150 billion industry. Lord knows how. Okay, I got some. You want to lose weight? Want to start right now? Get off your fat butt. Go for a walk. Turn your walk into a jog. Possibly then turn it into a run, depending upon how your ankles, knees, hips, and whatnot hold up. And if not, just stay at a jog, as in exercise, consistently, regularly. Stop eating things that are white. Rice, sugar, pasta, which is just a keto diet, right? That's, you know what I mean? Like the end. Oh, and drink lots of water, because your body's like a toilet. It wants to flush itself. The more water you put in it, the more it can flush. And what do you think is coming out of you? Crap that your body doesn't want, right? So you get the idea. That's how you lose weight. There's no need to pay anybody. You don't need to join Weight Watchers. You don't need to join Jenny Craig. The other thing that somebody overweight will do is they team up with somebody who's also overweight to lose weight, or a smoker teams up with another smoker to stop smoking, or a drug addict teams up with another drug addict to stop. Like, if you're overweight, find somebody who's fit and follow them, right? Make a little more sense. And so I could go down that path. The idea, number 5, is strategy. It's 1%, but it drives the other 99. So you got to get it right. And it's last on the list. So the level of importance might be thought to be, okay, well, that's number 5. No, it's absolutely critical, but the other stuff, and number 1 is state. If you are hungry, somebody smokes for 30, 40, in some cases 50 years, right? They go to the doctor, they get the diagnosis, right? What happens? They magically don't crave the cigarettes, right? Why? It's a state adjustment. That's it. It's not strategy. It's a state adjustment, like, holy smokes, I want to get to know my grandkids. I want to watch my daughter walk down the aisle. The end, right? So really developing that why. So that is intervention for that. That's Tony's 5 steps, which in the instance of somebody who's got shiny light syndrome on steroids, they lack focus, consistency. Remember, because I get asked all the time, building a 7-figure business, Karl, like, is it possible to hit 7 figures as a coach? Like, okay, so Karl, I've, no doubt if you're listening to this, you know that, but very legitimately have done it. And I'll do it again in 2 seconds. Like, it's really not that hard, but it takes an enormous amount of effort. But what it really takes is just dogmatic focus. So the way I would describe a 7-figure coaching business, or frankly, a 7-figure any business, and certainly a multiple 7-figure business, is that success is the same movie 3 times a day, 7 days a week for 10 years. And you got to look at it that way. Success is boring. Success is mundane. So then the question I get back, but oh my gosh, I got to change things up. I get bored. Well, what I'd say to that is, first of all, believe me, there's going to be plenty of interesting different dynamics in your business that are going to allow your creative juices to flow outside of changing your business or changing something dramatic. But take up skydiving, start playing hockey, start playing soccer, take your kids to Disneyland, right? Start drawing with your kids. You know what I mean? Come up with stuff outside of your workplace to get more creative juices flowing than you could ever handle. But as a rule, and this is not black and white, it's very, very gray, but the more boring your business is, probably the more success you're going to have. And then whether or not you will continue or, hit those 7 figures and then move on from there will be how you can handle the mundane, how you can take the, uncreative, unexciting, day-to-day thing. So again, success is the same movie 3 times a day, 7 days a week for 10 years. Look at it that way. Everything's always psychology. So if you can prepare yourself for that and understand that the mundane is what's going to, as you get more successful, the more, unexciting it becomes, you got to be able to handle it. So Road Dog, that's how I would answer our friend looking for an intervention. But I love the question, and I love, more than the question, I love the thought behind the question. I think he needs an intervention. Quite frankly, it's kind of where it's at often. What do you think?
What do I think? I think you need an intervention, because guys, you got to be careful the questions you submit, because you see what happens here? Karl gets on a tangent for 25 minutes as soon as he gets an opportunity to just preach, man. Preach the Tony Robbins. I love it. All right. So any parting words, because we are way over time.
Yes, I am going. Yes, parting words, folks. Here it is. Enjoy the journey, most certainly, but straight from Ray Dalio, I'd encourage you to get the abbreviated version of Principles, and if you really love that, get the full version, because that guy is literally, to say that he's a genius is an understatement. Love the dude. So enjoy the journey, but enjoy the relationships that you're building throughout the journey. And there will be trials and tribulations. Don't worry about it. Just enjoy the relationships along the journey. Ray Dalio would be very proud of you. There you go, man.
Love it. You know what? It's funny you say that, Karl. Just as a quick one for me is I've gone through some tough times, but I'll tell you what, I've made some pretty amazing relationships through those tough times. So, all right, everybody. Well, thanks so much again, everybody, for tuning in to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets with my boy, the man, the myth, the legend, King Karl. And again, if you've enjoyed the podcast, please, feel free to share it. If anybody with an existing coach, someone that would make a great coach, or obviously anyone who likes Tony Robbins, that was made very evidently clear today, or just a great salesperson. And of course, please be sure to rate this episode. Again, iTunes gives an insane amount of weight towards those reviews. So please leave us a review if you've enjoyed what you heard today. And we will catch you on the next episode. And remember, everybody, progress equals happiness.
Beauty, bud. Good job, Road Dog. Appreciate you, man.
All right, guys. Take care, everybody.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at Focused.com.